In 1915, a passenger ship capsized in the Chicago River in the deadliest maritime disaster in Great Lakes history. A new documentary captures the story of what some have called the blue-collar Titanic. It was July 24th, 1915. Workers from Chicago's largest employer, Western Electric, were boarding steamships with their families. They were traveling across the lake to Michigan City, Indiana for a summer picnic. Many were immigrants, mostly from Southern and Eastern Europe, who had come to the Windy City in search of new opportunity. Across the lake, a resort town with carnival rides, games, and events. 5 beautifully appointed steamships were lined up along the Chicago River. The first one to fill with passengers that day was the Eastland.
Families, old people, babies in arms, pouring onto this ship to the point where it filled up almost immediately. Something like between 50 and 100 people a minute.
The ticket takers, they weren't even counting babies and small children. They just wanted to load the boat as fast as possible.
Few noticed a steady stream of ballast water being pumped out. The Eastland's captain, Harry Pedersen, wanted to raise the extremely low entrances into the ship so passengers could board more easily across the gangplank. But ordering Chief Engineer Joseph Erickson to pump out all of the ballast set the Eastland precariously high in the water.
I heard, look out, she's tipping.
The world toppled sideways.
The floor literally became the wall. The portholes became skylights. Water gushed in. It was a torture chamber.
844 people, many of them women and children, drowned in the Chicago River. Oddly, despite the loss of life, many are unaware of the disaster, even in Chicago.
It's just incredible that the largest single loss of life event in Chicago history is virtually unknown.
The story is told in the documentary Eastland, the shipwreck that shook America, which is airing on many PBS stations around the country. I spoke with the filmmakers Harvey Moshman and Chuck Coppola about how they made their documentary. Incredibly, newsreel film of the tragedy, widely distributed at the time, vanished for a full century.
In 2015, 100 years after the disaster, a University of Illinois grad student was looking for footage of World War I. And in the Netherlands, in an archive in the Netherlands, in between shots of troops marching back and forth, there was a shot of an overturned ship in the middle of a downtown river. And he realized it was the Eastland. That was the first footage that was discovered, and subsequent to that, there have been 2 other chunks found. They were in England, but nothing has been found in the United States.
So overall, I mean, how much footage were you able to pull out to make this?
Of the newsreel footage that we know exists, and that's about 1.5 minutes, we've used all of it in the film. And we know there was a lot more because film distributors used to get notices about what topical newsreels would be distributed over the course of weeks and months. And in that catalog, there are references to the Eastland from July 1915 through February 1916. So there was at least a couple of hours worth of newsreel footage shot on the Eastland. But to this day, we only know of the 1.5 minutes.
That's actually pretty incredible because I think you guys do such an amazing job telling the story and actually visualizing the story. The documentary recreates the Eastland disaster with computer graphics based on a different century-old steamship, the SS Keewatin.
The computer graphics actually started with a wireframe of the Keewatin. The Keewatin is an Edwardian-era steamship, actually older than the Titanic. And for a while, it was over in Douglas, Michigan, near Saugatuck, as a tourist attraction. The actual CGI is based on the Keewatin, but the real charm, the real wizardry, is that the artist recreated the 1915 Chicago waterfront in incredible detail. And in the background, you can see the L moving. On the bridge, you can see horse and buggies, and it all came from computers.
the filmmakers also shot dramatic recreations on the Keewatin, which is currently docked in Port McNicoll, Ontario.
The Keewatin is a dead ringer for the Eastland. It looks very similar in many respects. And there aren't any pictures that we have been able to find, and they may be out there, but we have not found them, of film of the Eastland before it rolled and as people were boarding. So that is naturally a part of the story that we had to share with viewers. And so we decided to use some judicious shots of people boarding the ship, people finding seating, passengers getting uneasy as the ship started to list from one side to the other. And we wanted to include that, but we didn't want to overstep and to go beyond what may have actually happened.
Are there things that you see, I guess, maybe parallels between, what happened then to issues that we're seeing today, or kind of reasons why this is an important story to tell?
Well, I think it has relevance to today. It has relevance because steamboat inspectors in 1915 were federal employees under the Department of Commerce. They were paid, though, by the ship owners to inspect their ships. You can instantly see a potential conflict of interest.
Western Electric denied any responsibility for the disaster. Shockingly, neither the ship owners, Walter Steele and William Hull, nor the captain were held accountable for the tremendous loss of life.
The owners knew that the ship was unstable months before it actually capsized. Walter Steele met on the ship with Chief Engineer Joseph Erickson, and they had a conversation about very specific repairs to be made to the ship, including adding another seacock, which would have made the ship more stable. Unfortunately for the Eastland victims, those repairs were postponed.
This story is more than just a steamship rolling over and a company absolving itself of responsibility in any way. It's also about desperate ship owners who knew that this ship was unsafe, knew that they had problems that had to be fixed, yet they rolled the dice, they took a gamble, they thought they could delay these repairs until after the season. They knew there was a problem, yet they were able to leave Chicago after this event happened and not be extradited back to Chicago to stand trial because of extradition laws at that time. The second thing, they were charged with conspiracy, a very difficult charge. State prosecutors wanted manslaughter, but in the end, a Michigan federal judge, Clarence Sessions, acquitted all of the defendants.
What do you want the viewers of this to come away with?
The takeaway for me and for hopefully a lot of viewers is that history, unfortunately, repeats itself in tragedy. These events are preventable. The Eastland was preventable.
The Eastland disaster was the greatest loss of life in the city's history. It was the greatest maritime tragedy on the Great Lakes, and actually more passengers died on the Eastland than died on the Titanic, yet the story is so little known.
At Great Lakes Now, we aim to cover the Great Lakes region and the people who live here, like you. Please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter at greatlakesnow.org.